I didn't know much. We didn't have internet to Google things. I did the research that I could do, decided between New York and California. I went with New York because I thought it was going to be more about the art and the craft. I did not want to be another pretty blonde that maybe made it for a little bit and then kind of went to the wayside. And so I made my way to New York and I began to study under some of the greatest masters in New York.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Witt.
Welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and today I am speaking with Tina Gallo. Tina has established a remarkable career in the entertainment industry over 4 decades. As an award-winning actress, she captivates audiences with her commanding presence and brings a vibrant energy to each role. Tina honed her craft by studying under the masters of Stanislavski system. You're going to have to help me with that one. How do I pronounce that?
Stanislavski.
Okay, thank you. And her impressive resume includes a wide range of credits in television, film, commercials, and theater productions. Having started traveling with Frank Sinatra's entourage for over 2 years, Tina relocated to New York City to pursue her ambitions. Her dream materialized as she launched her acting career in the Big Apple before making her mark in Hollywood, most notably for her role as Dee Dee on the iconic soap opera General Hospital. Despite taking a break to raise her 2 sons, Tina's passions for acting never waned, and she has been blessed with a steady stream of work in recent years, including performances in Christmas at Keystone, One More Dream, and Joe's Surrender. Beyond her acting endeavors, Tina is a devoted nature enthusiast and animal advocate. She operates a home studio for voiceover work and is writing her book, Unfiltered: 40 Days of Devotional Reflections to See Yourself as God Sees You. Tina's unwavering dedication to her craft and commitment to empowering aspiring actors make her a respected figure in the entertainment industry. Welcome to the podcast, Tina.
Oh, thank you so much. So happy to be here with you today, Jaclyn.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you know. Part of this podcast is I don't really take myself too seriously. Sometimes I come up against words I don't know. Sometimes it's because I'm not American. Sometimes it's just because it's new information. So thank you for helping me with that name.
Oh, you're so welcome.
But okay, so let's take a little time and get to know you. I mean, I read a lot of really interesting details in your bio, but
Yeah, that was a
how
little
did you
long.
No, it was great. It was great.
It
How
sounded a
did you
little
get
long.
into acting?
Oh gosh, I think I was born like that. No, seriously, probably, honestly, it started like at 3 years old. As long as I remember, I just always knew what I wanted to do. So I just remember watching all the black and white, well, giving my age away there, but the black and white TV shows, the musicals, all the stories, Judah Garland, Shirley Temple, and I would just be glued to that, always knowing that one day this is what I wanted to do. So it really started young, and then, getting involved in baton twirling and tap dancing and all the things that would one day just put me into that direction. I just seemed to love to perform. I was involved in school plays, and it always starts there in school, and getting roles in school plays and putting on performances around the neighborhood and doing all
Yeah.
the fun things. And so that dream started and was planted in me very early.
And did your parents see that in you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was raised with 3 brothers and myself, and I mean, they just had to endure me. Whenever company was coming over, I look back at it and I laugh now, but, I remember when the relatives would always come over, I had some kind of a performance they had to endure watching me do,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, until eventually I knocked myself out, and, it was time probably to go to bed or something, but,
Right,
yeah,
right.
I just loved it. Always, always, always have. Love telling stories, love being a part of it, love working in imagination, all of it, all the elements.
So in your teen years, did you start pursuing acting like as a career, or was it your adult years? How did you start moving in that direction?
What happened, Jaclyn, is I really didn't know how to pursue at that point, and I really got blessed. I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from Philadelphia, New Jersey area originally, but we had moved to Florida in my teenage years, and the drinking age I remember in Florida for alcohol was 18. And I
Wow, that's
just
young.
secured a job at the Sunrise Musical Theater in Florida. And for some reason, the girl that was going to be training me that evening, I think she had taken ill and didn't show up. And so the manager had given me these two big tables to serve. I had some experience waitressing in restaurants, but to serve alcohol, you had to be, age appropriate. Anyhow, I served this table, and I remember walking away with almost $1,000 tip from these two tables. And Mr. Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, was performing at the Sunrise Musical Theater that evening and for that weekend. Anyhow, I came back the next night and I remember the manager telling me that this table requested me again. And I remember thinking, wow, it's the same people. Who comes back to the same show a second night to see a person perform? And it's all the
Right?
same people. Well, I come to find out it was the Sinatra entourage that requested me. So long story short, they really liked the way that I served, and Bobby Marks, Mr. Sinatra's stepson at the time, he was married to Barbara Marks. He and a gentleman named Lester Lewis came up and asked me if I'd like to go on the road with them to sell Mr. Sinatra's merchandise. Well, even if my dad would have said no, probably at the time I was going. But my idea was this was my big break into the industry. So
Right,
I went
right.
on the road. Long story short, I did go on the road with them for 2.5 years selling merchandise. And Mr. Sinatra's best friend, about 2.5 years into this, I was not really getting anywhere as far as acting went. And he told me, you have to find out if you have any talent, kid. And I said, well, how do I do that? He said, you need to go to acting school. And I said, well, where do I go? So I didn't know much. We didn't have internet to Google things. I did the research that I could do, decided between New York and California. I went with New York because I thought it was going to be more about the art and the craft. I
Mhm.
did not want to be another pretty blonde that maybe made it for a little bit and then kind of went to the wayside. So it
Right.
just seemed to me I was going to become more of a true artist in New York. And so I made my way to New York and I began to study under some of the greatest masters in New York.
And were you pursuing for screen or for stage or both?
You know, it starts with stage in New York. That's the beauty of it. Because
Mhm.
you don't really learn how to act doing films, but you really do learn the craft in theater. So I did start in theater in New York. And
Uh-huh.
then I did a lot of commercials. And then I did what we call under five. I started on some soap operas in New York. And under five is either 25 words or 5 lines. And then eventually, after many years of training and pounding the pavement for real, because we didn't we didn't have cell phones. You had to go to
Right, right.
a a phone booth and call your answering service to find out if anybody had an audition or anything, but anyhow, eventually I wanted to be on the soap opera General Hospital. It was the, big deal in the day, and made my way out to LA, and I actually secured a role on that show.
Wow.
And I did it myself, but I had to give my agent, you know, the,
Yeah.
fee, and you had to bring your agent into it, which I had no issue doing at all, but, yeah, it's a pretty amazing story. I went out there not knowing where I was going, where I was gonna live or any of that, but, I was like a bulldog with a bone, and I was just
Right.
glued on finding out what I could find out, and found out that I could make a phone call on a Monday at 6 o'clock, and Marvin Page, who was the casting director at the time, answered the phone. And it actually really happened, and I got to talk to him, and he brought me in for an audition, and, it was about 2 weeks before my birthday, and I got booked as Dee Dee on the show.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
And how long did you have that role?
I was on GH for about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and then I came to the Lord. So I was really beginning to get into the party scene out there. I
Mm.
always look back, and I have a chapter in my book, it's called Lost and Found in Tinseltown.
Mhm.
And I realized there was, some things that really needed to be dealt with, but back in the 1980s, there was a lot of cocaine floating around in
Right.
Hollywood. It was just the glamour drug, and I wasn't addicted or anything, but, I dabbled with it because you just didn't go to a party. And also, on set, there was coke because all the girls wanted to be, like, 10 pounds underweight and, just
Mm.
dumb things like that. And here I am into health and nutrition and working out and all those things, but I was starting to drink and dabbling with the coke, and I really just took a serious look at some of the things that I was doing, and God was pursuing me at the same time. And
Mhm.
so I just really started reflecting on my life and wondering and asking myself some hard questions and why I was doing some of these things. And I came to the Lord and I didn't re-sign my contract. I had to go back I had to work with Stacy Keach on the new Mike Hammer show, but I didn't re-sign and I wanted to get a break and go back. So I went home. I went back to Jersey for a while. And then I went back and fulfilled my obligation on the new Mike Hammer show. But honestly, then I fell in love with Jesus.
Mhm.
And he was putting me on a different path, it seemed like, and I was following it. And, um, and so I thought that was over, but it was always in me, my love for acting. And so I would get involved in church productions and different things like that. And then I saw the rise of the faith-based, and I realized one day I want to be a part of it. And God started directing me in that path. And here I am. I'm back.
Wow. And so did you know Jesus growing up?
I was raised Catholic. I went to
Okay.
Catholic school for a few years as well. So, yes, I always was. Religious, I guess is the word. When you're raised Catholic, it is really about religion, but, we had a lot of religious things that we did.
Mhm.
But I always knew who Jesus was, and I always had a love for the Lord. So yes, the answer is yes, being raised
Mhm.
Catholic.
Yeah. I love, having that foundation. It's kind of similar in some ways to my story where, I went and did my own thing for a few years in my early adulthood, but, um, when it came down to it where I was in a desperate place and, like, was just not wanting to continue the direction that I was going in
Yeah,
without getting into a lot of details. The thing is, I did know with that foundation having grown up, knowing the Lord and knowing that He's a God of redemption, uh, I knew He was there, and I think that that made a huge difference, and if I
always.
didn't have that in my childhood, who
Absolutely.
knows what I would have done.
Same here. The foundation is huge, and I thank God for my parents letting me have that foundation. Because so many children today aren't even raised and know who God is. There's no
Yeah,
consciousness of Him at all, so it is a blessing. Um,
definitely.
yeah.
So how did the Lord start directing your path differently?
Well, I got really hungry. You mean after I got
Sure,
saved?
yeah,
Is that what
yeah.
you mean? Yeah, I really got a hunger for God, so I got involved in church right away. That was the
Mhm.
first thing. Um, I started getting involved with community, people my own age as well, because I had an idea that they were all gonna be old ladies with little gray
Right.
buns. Here I am 20, 6 years old or what have you. But God started bringing me around and bringing me into a community of people, and I began to grow. I got involved in theater still in
Mhm.
the Christian community as well, like in church productions and things like that, and musicians. I got involved with worship in the worship team, which was really great. So it was another creative outlet for me. But I think the community is what really helped me to grow, getting involved in Bible studies and growing in the
Mhm.
Lord and being with people my age really helped me with that as well.
Mhm.
I was building a personal relationship with God. I think that was my biggest missing piece being raised as a Catholic. I always felt like God was somewhere out there, but
Right.
I started building a really strong personal relationship with God myself. And I knew him. I felt like we were friends. The Bible tells us he's a
Mhm.
friend of ours. And, we're joint heirs. And so I really, through studying and meditating and praying, and there was just early on so many encounters with God himself. And I can see him being involved in every detail of my life. I could just
Mhm.
see it. And supernatural things were happening that it only could be God that was involved with.
Right.
So he was totally directing my path on what I was doing because there's no other answer for it other than God being involved in my life. And I just had a personal relationship with him that continued to grow.
Are you a filmmaker or storyteller with a passion for faith-driven narratives? The Purpose Film and Media Festival is calling all creators to showcase their work at this year's event, happening August 7th through the 9th, 2025. This three-day festival is more than just screenings. It's a celebration of storytelling that inspires and uplifts. Join industry leaders like Cameron Arnett, Tyler Sansom, Gene Wenger, and Justin Overlander for workshops, keynote sessions, and networking opportunities. Whether you're a seasoned filmmaker or just starting out, you'll find a community eager to support your vision. Submit your film, script, or project today at purposefest.net and be part of a movement that celebrates purpose-driven media. Don't miss your chance to be featured among the best in Christian cinema. Purpose Film and Media Festival. Building the kingdom, one story at a time.
So then, did you continue to pursue acting as a career? Like, I know you're saying that you were involved in like the church theater and stuff, or did you step away from that?
I stepped away because I knew I needed to live in the day. You did. You needed to live either in New York or LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't at the time. Then eventually I moved back to New York, but it was really difficult. I knew the world that I was in. And I
Right.
knew the mentality, a lot of the people. It was very cutthroat. A lot of, competition, a lot of people, and to include me at the time. But God was changing my heart, so I wasn't going to fit in too well. But, we were all trying to climb up that ladder for ourselves, so we were very
Right.
self-centered. And I didn't want to be that shallow person, that shallow girl any longer that was all about herself. And God was teaching me to think of others better than yourself. And so my mindset was shifting. My heart was changing. And I didn't see a way that I could be involved. And it wasn't until, like I said, I started seeing the faith-based films coming out and, they were starting to improve and get better. And I thought, man, I would love to be involved in telling stories that would edify God and bring people maybe to the Lord and these types of stories of redemption. And so I continued to pray about it, and a hunger stirred up in me again for that. And then the Lord directed me back into it.
Mm-hmm. The time that you did spend away from pursuing acting as a career, when you came back, do you think that that time you had spent away was able to inform you and give you a depth? And I ask this because I know that there are times where God does ask us to step away and we think, what? Why? Does that mean you're taking this away entirely? Um, but my theory is that sometimes, like the wilderness experience, sometimes he needs to draw us away so he can build us up, and then he can put us back and we're in a different place when we return. Is that something that you experienced?
It was certainly a time of cultivation.
Mm.
Absolutely. And a time of really, truly learning about myself and the brokenness that I carried,
Mm.
and the healing that needed to take place in order to be whole. And God was the answer to that. So definitely cultivation, a time of cultivation in so many areas. It's a funny thing because someone asked me not long ago, how do I define success? And, it's such an easy answer for me now. Success to me, I said, was, and this is what came out of me, is taking the gifts and the talents that God gave me to be a blessing to others. To me, that's success, and I'm getting to walk in that now with my school and the students that I'm helping cultivate their talents. So I didn't have that mindset as a young 20-year-old in Hollywood,
Right.
in New York, that's for sure. And it brings me such joy, great joy. And so I love where I'm planted, and I get to perform, and I get to do my craft and my art as well. So I'm teaching, I'm involved in projects. I'm not exclusively only doing faith-based projects, but they do have to have a good message and a good story that I could be proud of and be able to sit down and watch with my family as well, with no shame.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful for that he's allowing me to do it all right now.
I love that.
And I produced as well. So, but it's being conscious of others and being a blessing to others. There's no greater joy, I find, than that, truly. And what we
Right.
reap, we do sow. You get to see the truth of that as well.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, things come to me that I'm just like in shock of. Sometimes I'm like, well, I'm not seeking it. I'm not trying to make anything happen. I'm just grateful for the things that the Lord's allowing me to do and be a part of. And some wonderful stories because, I come from the world of honoring a writer. My kind of training, it's all about writing and honoring the writer and the world, the story. And so to see some really great writers put their hearts into a good story
Mm-hmm.
and being able to be a part of that and honor that is truly a gift.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
definitely, I'm really looking forward to our next episode because I want to dive into more about your teaching. I know we've talked a lot about your acting journey in this episode, but I know you've recently, well, in the past recent years, you've got into teaching, and you and I had a great conversation before we started recording, and I can't wait to dive into that to share with our listeners some more things.
Well, Jaclyn, too, it's so interesting because we have to learn about God's timing.
Mm,
I've been a single
yes.
mother for a very, very long time, and I've raised 2 sons pretty much all on my own. And, sometimes we can get caught up in thinking somebody else has something better or they're ahead of you. But, I've learned over the years, God's timing is everything. And we have to learn through those moments as well to be patient because, the scripture says God gives us the desires of our heart. He's the one that plants those desires into us. And something I learned over the years, God always forecasts and then fulfills. So if it's
Amen.
been forecast and planted in you, it will come to fruition. Our job is just to take one day at a time and to be obedient to Him. I had no idea I'd be doing all of this. My focus was raising my sons. Now they're young adults, but it was the greatest reward I could have at the time. And I wouldn't have been able to do all of that without compromising what my youngest son now, who's 26, needed. And, he's become an Eagle Scout. I had to get him into college. He's getting ready now. He's graduated, all of that. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of focus when you're doing it on your own. And so it was the Lord helping me through that. And that's where I was supposed to be during that season. And now He's giving me back my first love,
Mm,
which is the art of acting and the craft and meeting some wonderful people along the way.
I love it.
So I'm grateful. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I'm looking forward to talking with you more in the next episode. Thank you so much, Tina.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jaclyn.